Hi guys, welcome back to another video. So in today's video, we're going to be discussing something super important because as you all know that the previous government, the Conservative government, have taken several measures in order to reduce the overall immigration policies in the UK. And this has led to a massive drop, big drop in the number of people entering the UK on visas. And today's video is going to be all about decoding what has happened, what are the numbers looking like, and how it is going to affect you if you are planning to come to the UK or if you're already in the UK and are looking for a job in the UK. But before we move ahead, my name is Nikita and I make videos about living in the UK, working in the UK as a healthcare professional, getting your license to practice and clearing those interviews to land dream jobs. And if any of this is of interest to you, do not forget to drop me a subscribe on YouTube, but also follow me on Instagram. My handle is Physiotherapy in UK. So let's get into the details of today's video. Firstly, let me just remind everybody that all of the numbers that I'm going to be sharing on the screen today are from an article that is verified in the UK, and I'll leave the link for that in the description below so you can check that out. For those of you all who do not remember, between April 23 to December 23, we had seen a big rise in immigration where we saw a total number of visas being issued to overseas candidates up to 10 lakhs. Now, this was not only work visas, but it was student visas, dependent visas, work visas, health and care worker visas as well. So that was an overall number. Now, however, as you can see in this sort of video and the screen right here, it says that the number of people applying for visas to work and study in the UK fell by nearly 4 lakhs after restrictions were introduced in a bid to cut legal migration levels. So as you can see, from the 10 lakhs, the numbers have already been dropped by 4 lakhs, resulting in an overall net immigration of about 5 lakhs at the minute for this present year, which is obviously something that we're going to be talking about more in a minute. So firstly, let's talk about student visas. But firstly, huge congratulations to any student who is coming to the UK to study in 2025 for whatever course it might be. Now again, if you are a student coming to the UK, the most important thing for you to sort out right now is accommodation. Now in terms of accommodation, one of the best names and something that is personally recommended to me is Amber Students, because they have verified properties that are budget friendly and they help you 24/7 to get you the best accommodation deals close to your university. They have over 1 million beds in over the entire globe and can help you find your dream accommodation in over 250 cities, which is amazing to me. But if you would like to book your accommodation with them, here's a quick run through. What you've got to do is click on the code below, which you'll find in my description. Click on get personalized guidance, fill in the form, fill in all of the details and just submit it, and be stress free because they will contact you directly and help you find the best accommodation for your budget needs. So the second biggest drop in terms of the visas being issued by the UK has come in student visas. Now this was not a surprise because obviously there were many hurdles and challenges being introduced into the student visa route. Obviously one of which was that students were not allowed to get their dependents along with them, which is completely fair in a way to reduce legal immigration. But that just means that a lot of overseas students are now moving to other countries such as Australia, Canada, US, or maybe even somewhere else, or have chosen to stay back in their home countries and possibly search for work there. Just in terms of numbers, as you can see on your screens right there, there was an overall drop of 29% in sponsored study visa numbers, down from 5,46,100 between April to December 23 compared to 3,89,000 the equivalent period last year. Now, universities have also warned of significant financial concerns as a result of frozen domestic tuition fee and a decline in overseas students following policy changes. Now, obviously, this was one of the biggest impacts in terms of students coming to the UK. But let's talk about what's happening as the first major cut. So the biggest major cut in terms of overall visa applications in the UK, and that is the health and care worker visa. Now this is obviously not going to come as a surprise to anybody because as a part of the restrictions being introduced under the health and care worker route, many of us were not allowed to get their dependents, and that was mostly applied to care workers, but they, remember, were the bulk of the visa applications under the health and care visa route. So as you can see on your screens right there again, that applications to the UK on the health and care worker visa fell by a steeper figure of 79%, that is from an overall number of 2,99,000 in April to December 23 compared to 63,000 in the same period in 24. So you can see that almost stark contrast there in terms of the number of people applying for health and care worker visa route. Now again, we will talk about what is the implications for that if you are a healthcare professional planning to come to the UK in just a minute, but let's just just talk about what are some of the other policy changes and how they've impacted some of the other people. So the last sort of important news over there was that there was an overall drop of nearly 42% of visas for main applicants and dependents, masks a big difference in the size of fall across different categories of immigration papers available, according to PA News agency analysis of latest figures published in Thursday. Now, what this essentially means that obviously because a lot of dependents were not allowed to come with the main applicant into the UK on the visa, it's just meant that if you are a spouse, or if you have a spouse and you've applied as a main applicant, your spouse could essentially not accompany you to the UK and they would have to get their own sponsored job. So this has just meant that many people are now not able to come with their families in the UK, and that has led to an overall decline in the number of people making visa applications. So now that we've covered the overall numbers and the massive drop in immigration, let's talk about how is this going to impact you. So the first biggest update in terms of how this is going to impact you is just thinking about the people who are living locally in the UK. So people who are UK born and bred would obviously see these numbers dropping and are quite relieved in terms of obviously there are no increased immigration numbers. Now, why is this a relief? Because initially when these numbers were released last year saying that over 1 million people, which is equivalent to 10 lakh people, had come into the UK between April and December 2023, that people in the UK were obviously very aggravated and they felt very aggrieved that most of the jobs are going to immigrants. So obviously that sentiment can be now calmed down because there has been a significant drop in the overall immigration. Now, the second impact that I think is personally going to be there is that for people who are in the UK and people who are considering to come to the UK right now, this might be a really good time, and here is the reason why. Because still now what we've seen in the UK is generally an increase in competition for the same number of jobs that have existed over the last couple of years. So if the overall numbers who are tending to come in have reduced, people in the UK who are potentially trying to change jobs or on student visa or dependent visa and are trying to get a skilled worker visa or a health and care worker visa can now see that there is lesser competition in their fields, and this change can potentially help them to land better roles and get better salaries. Now, I'm not saying that this is only for people in the UK. So again, if you are an international applicant who is planning to come to the UK, this can still be a really good opportunity for you, because as you can see from all of the evidence that I've showed you, there are lesser and lesser people choosing UK as a country to come, live and work. And that just means that there's going to be lesser competition for you guys when you plan to make those applications. But if you are a healthcare professional, the first thing you've got to think about is clearing your HCPC to work in the UK as a healthcare professional. Now, in terms of HCPC, the process can be long and winded. And again, if you need help with your HCPC registration or your job applications in the NHS or generally in the UK, feel free to book a one-to-one session with me and we can go through all of your concerns and have a chat about what route is best for you. But now that we've discussed about all of the impacts that are going to be sort of coming out of this recent drop in immigration, let's talk about what is the future of the immigration in the UK. So in terms of the future of immigration, let's talk about health and care worker visa. So as you are all aware, health and care workers are generally required in the UK, not only within the health sector, but also within the social care sector. Now, this is again not going unnoticed, and many people have spoken out against this. So as you can see on your screens again, that the social care sector previously hit out at the potential ramifications of the dependence ban, branding it brutal and blaming the policy for cutting a lifeline of overseas staff. So obviously people in the UK are realizing that having overseas healthcare staff and social care staff is actually helping to maintain the level and the quality of care being provided to citizens within the UK. And as you can already see, the numbers have reduced drastically. So from a sort of 3 lakh number, now then a big drop, and I think that there is no scope for further drop in these numbers. So I personally think that there can't be any more drop in these numbers. So again, if you are a health and care worker or if you are a healthcare professional looking to explore opportunities in the UK, this might be the right time for you in order to look and pursue your career abroad. The second implication obviously is for students who are planning to come into the UK. Now, obviously, as you saw on the screen right there, the students saw the biggest or the second biggest drop in numbers in terms of visa applications in the UK. And again, a lot of universities have spoken about this because they've realized that obviously domestic tuition fees for people studying in the UK, so people who are born and bred in the UK, have not gone up. And obviously the international fees were much higher, but that helped a lot of UK universities stay afloat. Now with that funding going over, or sort of not existing anymore, because lesser and lesser foreign students are applying to the universities, they've had to either downsize or sort of fire a few teachers, which is again not a very conducive environment for learning. So personally, I feel that universities are also taking a stand against it. So there might not be a massive drop in student numbers, or there might not be major policies being issued in terms of student reduction in the UK. So the current policies may obviously stand, but I don't see any major changes coming along to these immigration policies. Now, again, just as a third sort of future impact, and a lot of people are worried about this, is will there be any further changes in immigration policies? Obviously, there's been a roller coaster of them over the last few months in the last year, but will there be any further changes in these policies? I personally think that there isn't going to be a lot of negative changes in these policies. I think they either stand or they're just going to get better. And one of the people that it's potentially going to get better for is healthcare professionals, because UK has realized that they need that overseas staff in terms of healthcare professionals to come and work in the UK to help provide good quality services to people in the UK generally. And with the lack of people, or with the lack of international applications coming through, there are a lot of vacancies being left open, which means that quality of care is being compromised in one way or the other. Now, I hope this video was useful, and if you have any questions, do drop them down in the comments below and I'll try to get back to them. Take care.